Hello, and thank you for joining me today. How ironic is it that the man who wrote the book, How the World Works, has been named in the Epstein Files? However, this video is not about Noam Chomsky. I will be talking about how the world works, but I will not be talking about Chomsky's book. I am going to be talking about the reality of our current situation. Reality can be difficult to face if you care about what is happening in the world, but it is easier if we face it together hand in hand. I want to take this opportunity in this moment in human history to help explain to you how the Epstein files relate to how the world works and how it will affect your very own life. What you must know is that your life is in danger. Your very existence and the lives of your children are in danger. History. History is the continuation of the present. The current system on which the human world runs is evil. The world that we live in today, in the 21st century, is a cash for flesh business. The capitalist system allows people to behave as badly as they want. Not just that, but those that behave without any ethics or morals are actually rewarded. What is the most powerful industry on the planet? It is the industrial military complex, which is human flesh for cash. What else generates wealth and power? The fossil fuel industry is the war on the environment, and animal agriculture is the animal flesh for cash business. What else? Anything that involves the exploitation of the world's natural resources for the creation of meaningless material consumer goods, chemicals, weapons, and disease. The capitalist system swapped the kings and queens of the past for the kings and queens of industry. Capitalism is the system by which raw materials are extracted from the earth and turned into chemicals and goods to generate infinite profits. The problem here is that the earth's ability to sustain growth is finite, and therefore resources are being extracted at a far greater rate at which the earth can support such exploitation. Fossil fascism is being waged by the elite class to destroy the planet for their own financial gain. Meanwhile, the rest of society continues to be sedated by consumerism and indoctrination that the reason those people who are in power are somehow more special than the billions of people who make up the peasant class. The world has always been divided into the elite aristocratic class and the peasant class. Just like the story of Elysium, those that have power and wealth make the rules by which the rest of the population must abide by. This is called a plutocracy, a world run by the elites for the elites, because those that have power make the rules. The shocking number of those individuals mentioned in the Epstein papers will not come as a shock to those that are already conscious enough to see what is going on around them. The names implicated span all corners of society, from business, socialites, prime ministers and politicians, law and policy makers, royalty, and even social media health influencers. The rich and powerful do not care about the rest of humanity. They do not care about you or your family. Never have and never will. People do not become wealthy and do not seek political power because they want to make the world a better place. They do whatever it takes, which means moral principles go out the window, never to be seen again. The whole point of becoming a king or queen is that you can live like one. To live life as an aristocrat is to make your own personal world better at the cost of making the world a worse place for everyone else. To believe that those in positions of power care of others is to live in a fantasy. For every action, there is a consequence of that action. Because people continue to bury their heads in the sand to what is going on, or they are even given to excusing the current state of civilization, the world will continue to become a worse place. However, by the end of this video, I will show you how you how simple it is to make your world a better place, and at the same time make the rest of the world, a better place. If the world seems dark and cold, but you carry the fire, then you must kindle some warmth for you and those around you. Before we can make the world a better place, we must understand the current state of the world. We live in the worst time to be alive in human history. Never in human history have we been closer to the hellish dystopian world that many have written about throughout the centuries. Most notable of these was the book 1984, authored by George Orwell. Humanity has never been so divided, yet the mass of humanity continues to allow the rich and powerful to dictate the course of history and therefore the destiny of the human species. The potential of humanity continues to fall short and fail every single year. I'm going to show you how you can dictate your own destiny and take back control and fulfill your personal potential, even when the rest of humanity is falling around you. The most important factor that you yourself can control to live the best quality life possible is your health. It is not money. Most people live on minimum wage and will always live life like everyone else. Most people continue to be fooled into believing it is in their best interests to always be thinking about money and their daily hustle, putting their health last or not even thinking about it at all. Your health is the most important thing you have, because the more healthy you are, the longer you have to spend with the people you love. When you are gone, you leave behind all those that cared about you, and you just become another empty chair at the table. It is not possible to buy good health. This is just another lie that so many continue to believe because they allow their decision making to be ruled by fear rather than by rational decision making. We are currently on track to destroy the habitability of the earth to support life. There are several factors that are combining to create this destiny. Soil structure is being destroyed through the current farming practices of tilling and vast monocrops with no crop rotation. These are commodity crops like soybean and corn for animal feed and biofuel for combustion engines in cars. As a result, we are losing the topsoil. A layer of soil is washed away with every heavy rainstorm or stripped away with every high wind. The Dust Bowl did not end in the 1930s. In the United States, during the Second World War, a multi-billion-dollar petrochemical industry was created from the refinement of fossil fuels. This was initially to create ammonium nitrate to make bombs for war. Now these same chemicals of war are poured into the earth in vast quantities as nitrogen fertilizers and pesticides to act as a short-term band-aid on otherwise dead soil. These chemicals then run off into waterways and rivers, eventually making their way to the ocean. Around the world, where rivers meet the ocean, there are now over 400 ocean dead zones where the chemicals sprayed by humans kill all ocean life. The Mississippi River is called the Big Muddy because it is carrying away the fertile topsoil of the Midwest of America into the Gulf of Mexico. With the continued release of greenhouse gases from a fossil fuel dependent world, climate change will lead to more extreme weather events and exacerbating the threat to food security around the world. With one extreme hailstorm, thousands of hectares of crop will be lost. Decade by decade, tipping points will be crossed, which will lead to rapid increases in climate change. For example, thawing permafrost in Canada and Russia will release methane into the atmosphere. Methane is a greenhouse gas 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. If there was the same amount of methane in the atmosphere as the current levels of carbon dioxide, human beings would be extinct, along with the rest of multicellular complex life. The Greenland ice sheet is another tipping point, as it is sliding off into the sea. As sea levels rise, hundreds of millions of people will become refugees of climate change. These people will be displaced, seeing a migration of humans around the world never before seen in human history. This brief description by which the world is being destroyed is being orchestrated by the elite, with many of those mentioned in the Epstein Files. Their goal is to make as much profit as possible. It is currently in the short-term economic interests of capitalism to destroy the planet. As global geopolitical instability increases and conflicts arise, most likely a major series of droughts, as well as global pandemics from animal agriculture, will result in something that has never happened on this planet before. Sometime in the next 2 centuries, there will be a thermonuclear exchange between the most powerful nation states, and civilization will come to an end. The light of civilization, carried by thousands of generations, will go out because of the greed, ignorance, lust, and evil behavior of a handful of rich men and women. The sad thing is, it seems that it will take the end of the world to end the capitalist system. I must stress that under the current business as usual model, this is what is going to happen. This is the road that we are choosing as a species. This is what hundreds of millions of years of life and evolution has led to. Homo sapien is going to wipe the Earth's surface clean of all life larger than bacteria, fungi, and extremophiles. This is why you must not have children. The most selfish act you will ever do is to have children. Not only will they have to watch their parents die, but they will also have to watch our Mother Earth die as well. This is what the last generation of humans must face. Don't give the burden to your children of having to watch the end of the world. This is where we come to the most controversial statement in this video. It is not me saying that the elite class are destroying people's lives and the planet through the capitalist system, living the life of luxury of heaven on earth, all while most people continue to suffer. No, the most controversial statement I will ever say is, stop buying animal products. This is the easiest way not only to make your own world better, but also to make the whole world better and a better place for people, animals, and the planet. Anything that had a mother or a face, you no longer pay for. What is the price to be paid for the lies of the food industry and public health messages? For every lie spoken incurs a debt to the truth that must eventually be paid. The cost of all the lies around animal products is the preventable deaths of millions of people in the Western world from chronic diseases. The debt is paid by the destruction of the planet through animal agriculture and the needless suffering and death of over 90 billion land animals and over 2 trillion marine animals every year. The mass of humanity continues to believe that it is in their best interests to die from the rich foods of kings and queens, rich in fat and animal protein. To eat the diet of the elites of history is to suffer the diseases of kings and queens, like gout and type 2 diabetes. Most people in the Western world have been brainwashed and conditioned to give their money and support to the industries that cause unimaginable suffering to animals and also destroy the very planet that we all live on. Animal farming is a flesh for cash business. The industry does not care about the health of animals, and it does not care about the health of society. It only cares about making as much profit as can be made from the killing of innocent beings. We do not eat meat to be healthy. We do not eat meat to be kind to the environment. We do not eat meat to be kind to animals. The Western world is a meat-based culture. The highest meat and dairy consumption in the world is in the United States of America. Where is it that people think that all of these Western diseases come from? Do they just magically appear, just as the likeness of the face of Jesus found in the bun of their hamburger? The standard American diet, being adopted more and more around the world, is leading to food poisoning on a scale that dwarfs every type of poisoning that could be imagined. Tobacco, heroin, and alcohol poisoning don't come near the destruction caused by eating meat and dairy products. Excess dietary fat and consumption of animal protein is leading to an epidemic and now pandemic of obesity, heart disease, and cancer around the world. To eat the rich foods of kings and queens comes at the cost of everything. The lie that we must eat animal protein comes at the cost of destroying the planet. At the same time, more people are suffering from cancers and the useless toxic chemotherapy drugs given as treatment, all while bankrupting millions of people. If we continue on the course of fossil fuel capitalist exploitation of the world, the potential of the human species will be traded for the extinction of the human species. The huge sick population that is created by eating all these rich animal products year after year, decade after decade, generates a huge cash cow that can then be milked for everything it has in return for drugs and surgery. The modern healthcare business has given up trying to cure chronic disease. Instead, modern healthcare is now palliative. While acute single injuries like broken bones and lacerations can be treated very effectively, chronic disease management is incredibly poor. This means that instead of curing chronic disease, such as type 2 diabetes, the healthcare system treats the aches and pains caused by chronic disease. Western diseases are the diseases of overnutrition, excess dietary fat, and protein consumption over decades destroys the amazing machinery of the human body. The rich Western diet of flesh and fast food is the conveyor belt to the operating theatre and pharmacy. When you become fat and sick, life becomes more complicated. When you frequently visit the Golden Arches, the temples of fast food to fat and animal protein, you poison yourself. When you have poisoned yourself for long enough, the body can no longer out-heal the damage being done. Life then becomes full of pain and discomfort. You have to pay for more and more medications with constant visits to the pharmacy. You spend more and more of your time being a patient to healthcare rather than a citizen of the world. You give up your freedom to become a prisoner to your own bad health and unhealthy lifestyle. You are not sick because you have cancer, heart disease, or type 2 diabetes. You have cancer, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes because you are sick. The standard Western or standard American diet, high in fat and animal protein, is making people sick. People worry about viruses. People worry about being exposed to radiation. What you're being exposed to is the disease of Western food, and you lose your immunity to obesity. You lose your immunity to heart disease. You lose your immunity to diabetes. Less and less people are immune to cancer. It is simply the disease of food. It is not healthy to think, can't I just take a pill? The idea of a magic pill is like medieval alchemy, the pursuit of turning base metal into gold or finding the universal elixir of life. This is pure fantasy. But the idea of pills to solve all troubles is sold to most people. Prescription drugs may have to be taken for life and have a huge number of side effects. The cure is actually delivered by your cutlery and not through a syringe or pill. The most common cause of the most common disease is ignorance. This is where you can take back control over your own destiny. The way to free yourself from the claws of the healthcare industry, pharmaceutical industry, and food industry is to change not just your diet, but your way of thinking. All these industries do not care about your health. They do not care about the state of the planet or the cries of all those suffering on this planet, animals and human beings alike. The only person that will ever care about your health is you. A healthy person does not take drugs. A healthy person does not have surgery. An unhealthy person becomes a patient, suffers pain and misery, and pads the pockets of all those industries involved in the decline of people's health. You must engage with what is going on around you. Otherwise, you just become a bag of flesh for pharmaceuticals to be dumped into and chopped up in surgery. You must get out of the healthcare business. You must. When you enter the healthcare business, you become just another patient to be exploited. What is a well-treated patient? This slide shows the reality of the situation for a typical patient in the West. On the left, this is somebody who has high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, gout, partial kidney failure. They are overweight, mildly arthritic, constipated, and depressed. This is not an exaggeration. This person will go to see the doctor faithfully every month and spends hard earned money, maybe even tens of thousands of dollars. You may know someone like this, such as a family member, friend, or work colleague. They go to the doctor in faith, looking for hope, looking for a solution to their problem. On the right, these are the kinds of results that doctors and patients see after years of treatment. What difference do you see? Nothing. Nothing, because the person is still fat and sick, but now they're just walking around with a bag full of drugs. A well-treated patient is someone that is given a bag full of useless, harmful drugs and is never cured. They are given a bag of toxic drugs by their healthcare professional that have multiple side effects without multiple cures. The leading cause of death of women and men in the civilized Western world in 1986 was heart disease. In the same year, statins were invented. These are drugs designed to treat heart disease. 40 years later, in 2026, the leading cause of death of women and men in the civilized Western world is heart disease. Nothing has changed. In fact, more people now die from heart disease every year than ever before. The reason the current medical system fails is that it continues to treat the symptoms and never the root cause, which is the rich Western diet. The Western world, however, is not civilized. Cardiology, the medical specialty with a purpose specifically to cure heart disease, has failed. Why is it that cardiologists continue to give people drugs and surgery that does not cure heart disease? Why do they not offer people a cure by fixing their diet and lifestyle? The only clinically proven method for curing heart disease is a low-fat, plant-based diet. Why is it that this is not a treatment that is part of the standard of care in hospitals in the Western world? To have a proven cure for the leading cause of death and then withholding this from patients is not the actions of a civilized world. This is evil behavior of the medical business. This evil behavior of the medical business is not based on ethics or morals and draws similarities to the horror of how the world works as highlighted by the Epstein Files. The foundation of civilization is based on a thin veneer that is used to control the mass of humanity. What is the price that is paid for this so called civilized world? Animal agriculture, the source of all this dietary poisoning, relies on fossil fuels. In order to grow billions of animals for livestock, a vast amount of soybean and corn is grown. In the US, agriculture is no longer about feeding people. It is about reaching the highest value that a commodity can make on a global market. The world is becoming converted into a global animal farm for the demand of the oldest and most disgusting addiction of humanity, meat. Fertile soil is being eroded away through the modern farming practices to create as much commodity crops that can then be grown to generate the largest profit possible. We are destroying the last few centimeters of fertile soil that supports the life giving crops that actually feed the world. The chemicals that are sprayed on these commodity crops are mostly nitrogen based fertilizers. These come from the petrochemical industry, which is refined from crude oil. The United States uses the power of the military industrial complex of the Pentagon to invade countries, especially in the Middle East, to take their raw materials. The countless wars waged by America in the Middle Eastern countries have been for one thing: oil. The US is a fossil fuel addicted nation. The Western world is drenched in fossil fuels and blood. The United States Army gives weapons of mass destruction to 18 and 19-year-old children and then sends them off to do whatever they want under false pretense that the United States and the West is always the good guys. The Western developed world is drowning in rivers of blood from the killing of billions of animals, and it has the blood of millions of people on its hands from all the wars waged around the world in the name of democracy and freedom. What freedom actually means is the freedom of the rich and powerful to behave how they like. It is those that have power that are free to do as they please, despite the consequences of their actions. If you are one of the many, the 99%, then you are trapped in the prison system of the world created for you by the elites. Most people work long hours on a minimum wage for a job they hate with people they hate to buy meaningless material items. They are told and are easily conned into believing that they need the cage of Western lifestyle. People buy cars, a bar in the prison cell. They buy the latest smartphone, another bar in the prison cell. They buy the latest meaningless material consumer goods and dig themselves into financial debt. Further to this, as someone gets older and the damage of the Western diet and lifestyle takes its toll on the human body, they enter the healthcare system, and many are bankrupted by drugs and surgery. While this horrific life, the modern civilized world, has given most people, the elites are having a great time. These Epstein papers shed light on the history of human nature. The history of human nature dictates that the mass of humanity will most likely do nothing to stop their journey into oblivion. The mass of humanity will continue on with their meaningless, horrible jobs, buying things they don't need and eating the foods that are poisoning them. At the same time, most people will actually defend the very system killing them and destroying their children's and grandchildren's future. The destiny of the world will be dictated by a small number of human beings. They continue to live the lives of luxury, which will come at the cost of everything. Most likely, nothing will ever come of the Epstein papers, and all those named will continue to live in comfort. The rich and powerful dictate the rules. The millions of pages containing names, images, and video is like an insight into a circus. The difference is that it is actually society that is the circus, while the elites look on at their own amusement at the mass of humanity that is too stupid to change the world to make it a better one. If you are one of the 1% of humanity that is awake and conscious of what is going on around you, your eyes and ears, it is very easy to make the world a better place and escape the healthcare system. The answer is to change to a diet based on starch and fruit. This is a naturally low fat, low protein, high carbohydrate diet. This is eating as much food to feel full. For example, you could eat fruit for breakfast, a fruit smoothie for lunch, followed by a bowl of white rice with some corn and chopped up red pepper, along with some spices and delicious sauce. When we choose the foods that do us the least harm, we not only choose to make our own world a better place, but the world around us becomes a better place too. This is called the ripple effect. When we eat a starch and fruit-based lifestyle without the poisons of meat, blood, veins, and bodily fluids of other animals, we reduce the suffering on the planet. This planet. When we choose starch and fruit, we choose kindness. When we choose kindness, we choose the path of hope. I hope that you have enjoyed the video, or at least now know what you must do. You must share this message. We do not have long left to salvage some livable future. In the meantime, go to the shops and buy your ticket to a better future. All you have to do is go down a different aisle in the supermarket. Visit the fruit aisle. Visit the rice and pasta aisles. It is so easy to make the world a better place. It takes a lot of effort to destroy the planet, but those that have the most power are the ones that are putting in all the effort. Humanity will never reach its full potential until it realizes that death is inevitable. No matter how much wealth and power one has, they can never change their destiny. We are all going to die, so why not leave behind a better world? The meaning of life is to make the world a better place, or at least to endeavor not to make the world a worse place. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. And don't forget to share the video and like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoy the video, and thank you for your time.